of August 2025. Welcome to the Headline News Analysis. And this is a platform that gives you the opportunity to have your say, to debate, discuss, and talk about some trending stories that were brought to you at 7 o'clock on the Headline News. And we're back to discuss them. Nicholas Uwerunonye will be providing the analysis, and of course, you also can join in the conversation by calling the studio number 0807 777 9927, 0807 777 9927. Welcome, my name is Adeyemi.
I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you so much for joining us on the analysis this morning. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Well, what are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
Well, of course, my usual routine, reading. I have a couple of, training programs that I'm going to be participating in. I'll be a resource person in one of them. See how it goes from there.
All right, that's great. The views to be expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Also, this is to inform you that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at FlowFM 927. So you can get on any of these apps and get in on the live action happening in the studio right now at FlowFM 927. All right, we'll pick up the news stories. You have an opportunity, 60 seconds to comment on any of the news stories that catch your attention on 0807 777 9927. Again, 0807 777 9927. Let's pick this one up from the Academic Staff Union of Universities. They have warned that the federal government's failure to address lingering issues could lead to another nationwide strike. Now, ASU's president, Professor Christopher Paiwuna, said this in Just that members will hold rallies across campuses next week to draw attention to government's insincere actions and refusal to implement agreements reached with the union. Why does this keep happening?
Well, it will keep happening because, it's a reflection of the level of support structure that the university system enjoys in the country. It tells you of the decadence in terms of intellectual infrastructure. That is, those infrastructures that are necessary to passing intellectualism to the next generation. So, you need to ask yourself, what exactly is a university for? I keep on saying this, that first and foremost, although a lot of academics might argue with me on this, that it is first and foremost a research institute. Mm-hmm. Yeah, teaching is a function. Teaching is a function. So what you teach is exactly the findings that you have researched. That is what you teach. That is what you pass on. So then you grow manpower, and of course you grow people who will take over from you as lecturers. That is what the university system is. So if you have a vibrant university system, it should be an answer to a lot of issues that border on governance, that border on the larger society. That is what the university system is meant to do. The university system is meant to provide solution. I recall back in the First Republic, when M.I. Okpara, the first premier of the Southeast Nigeria, when he decided to create what you now have as University of Nigeria, Nsukka, NNN. So when he decided to create that university, the decision was, it was supposed to be the think tank of the entire economic and governance structure of the Southeast. That was the essence of it. When ABU Zaria was created, the idea behind it was, Ahmadu Bello saw that UI, was there, and it was more or less like that's where you go to when you want experts, and it was serving the South than Nigeria very well. So he needed something that can compensate for that for the northern region. You understand? They needed to grow more seasoned, academics, seasoned civil servants. That was why they created that university. That was why they built the kind of infrastructures they had in this primary universities that we're talking about. Now, if you go to this university, go and look at the structure of the setup. It is still enduring. You understand? So now, subsequent the government that took over, we are meant to build on those things, but they have refused to build on them. Mm-hmm. I recall that a very long time ago, that should be around 2008 or thereabout, I spoke to one former ASU national president, Sule Kano. Sule Kano, that's the surname, Sule Kano. I think it was at the premises of, the Supreme Court in Abuja. It came for, one of the court cases they had on the 49 University of Ilorin. So we had a discussion. Then he was then telling me that, do you know that, at that point, that the entire budget meant for ABU alone at some point was what all the universities in Nigeria were now sharing. That is to tell you how deplorable the finances of our university system has become over time. As we speak right now, a professor does not earn up to 500,000 naira, and which is a crying shame. But again, it is not about remuneration. It's not about remuneration, giving them 10 million naira loan for what? Is it what the academics are talking about is that, look, those enabling environment, those things that makes for quality research, academic work are no longer there. Mm-hmm. You understand? And again, you see, like I told you, when you go to university as someone who has been outside, doing practices, like for instance, I'm in the mass communication, I'm in the media industry. Sometimes when I go into the university, when I hear some academics talk, it's more or less like you don't feel that connect. You feel that they are far, far, far removed from what is happening out there in the field, except from exceptionally few professors who have, apart from being academics, they have always kept in touch with what is happening in the industry. And they are very few. And why are they few? They are few because they can afford to, upgrade themselves, get in tune with what is happening, have contacts all over the places. But in most instances, what you have a lot of academics doing is sit down and just draw salaries and go into classes and pass instructions, which at the end of the day makes their graduating effectual. Now, there was this, I keep on going back to a figure, that was released by ITF. That should be around 2016, thereabout. Is it 2016, 2017? There was ITF in collaboration with, I think, UNIDOC or something, about three, NECA, Nigerian Consultative Assembly, Employment Consultative Assembly, released a document that showed that there are 980 something, thereabout, skill sets that could take up to 40 million youth in terms of employment. That is, we are talking of the skill set. There is a gap in the skill set. Mm-hmm. There are no people to fill it. You understand? So that, ordinarily, the tertiary institutions are meant to create, those kind of graduate people who will fill in those things, but they are not there. We are talking of AI now. How many Nigerian universities are equipped to, do coding? You understand? AI is all over the places, and we need to do something about it. There are so many issues that we are talking. There are so many things that are, just happening all around us that we need a system. We need a university system that is alive to it. But when it is not properly equipped, how do they get this thing done? So that is essentially what ASU is talking about. Apart from the fact that to do that job, they have to be well paid. Mm-hmm. So that is the thing. That is the situation. So you see, most times you see people just react and say, hey, they want to go on strike again because salary. Are they the only one in Nigeria? But that they don't really understand what the university system is all about. Is that you have a university or you don't? It's as simple as that.
All right. Now, these, premier universities that you mentioned, University of Nigeria and Suka, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, and of course, University of Ibadan. We see some of our, prominent leaders attend some of these schools, for their university education, and of course, the level at which these schools have been reduced to, and across, other, federal or state universities that are quite, popular. Who would you say is responsible? Can we take out some of the academic community and also, take out some of the blame or exempt, the federal government or the academic community from, the level which is generated to?
If there is any blame at all, on the level of the academics themselves, I think it's going to be inconsequential, really. Because you cannot have 100% blame on one side in a conflict. There should be some responsibilities, by the other parties. But in terms of, what we're talking about right now, I think essentially the bulk rests on the federal government, on the state governments. They were solely responsible for the way. I'm talking of successive government. It's not just about the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No, it's a successive thing. And look, you see, how you know that they themselves know that something is wrong with Nigerian university is to ask yourself, where do their kids go to school? A few days ago, the social media was awash with Umahi, the Minister of Works. The kids, one of the kids graduated from one of the universities in the UK. You understand? And I think it's engineering too. So what are we talking about? This is a man that has budgeted a humongous amount of money to build a coastal highway. You understand? That where there are other roads, infrastructure within the hinterlands that need attention. You understand? So you see, where the current FCT minister, ask him where did the kids graduate from? All of them, a few days ago, was it something? A few years ago, it was the case of Saraki and his kid, one of the kids that graduated abroad. So you see, the question you ask yourself is, that is a choice. There is no crime in doing that. But the question I keep on asking is, if the Nigerian university were up to scratch, would they take their kids elsewhere? Now, and these were the people that have been responsible for those budgets, for those planning. They were the one who sanctioned all those things that led us to where we are right now. All these people that I'm mentioning now, in the last 20 or so years of our democratic practice, they've been there. You understand? So you see, when they are not building their own private universities so that they can attract rich clientele, to come and to bring their kids to the university, they are busy doing things but help the Nigerian university, the state government-owned universities. So that is the point. So you see, at the end of the day, it will still come back to them. The government as an institution and people who have been put there to man those offices. So there is very little blame that you can put at the doorstep of the academics themselves because they are helpless. Okay, even look at the selection of the vice chancellors. How many of them are transparent? Ordinarily, you're supposed to allow the council to decide, who
becomes the vice chancellor.
Becomes the vice chancellor. And it is through a competitive process. But what do you see happen? You understand? Where you see case of ethnicity will come in, they'll put pressure on people in government to ensure that their favored candidate emerges. Not bothering, not asking themselves whether what that person is bringing on board, to the university. What is he bringing in? What is he bringing in? Where is he going to take that university? At the end of it, it's all about pushing somebody to a political office so that can get, gains, they can get contracts and the rest of them.
Again, I think you should reiterate that conversation around the choice of vice chancellors that lead universities, because in time past we've had very, very vibrant VCs. For example, we could call the University of Lagos, and we don't want to mention certain names of VCs, and then you look at the FUTA. There's a woman who was appointed, a professor. She was appointed to FUTA, Federal University of Technology, Akure, and we saw her track record. When I read her profile and then I saw the track record, you would know that these are people in the past that have built universities, trying to put them on the world map. But again, this is not to say, but the level is deteriorating.
Seriously. You say, look, let me tell you, the position of the the vice chancellor of a university is so, it is so protected that even the visitor, whether the state governor or the president, cannot just move anyhow. Because you see, when people like that makes a statement, it reverberates globally in the academic community. It can ruin you as a president globally. But they don't go for such candidates because they want candidates they can manipulate so that they can get their way.
Then we have a major problem.
Oh, big problem. A very big problem. Because
so how do we solve it?
Well, it will always come down to the will, political will to do that. If you have a president today that has the will that, look, regardless of what is happening, it's not about whether you re-elect me, whether you don't re-elect me. But the proper thing must be done. And which is that university, the term of the VC is over, right? Okay, fine. You select a thorough process that will bring somebody that has capacity. That is on the one hand. Then you look at the universities as a whole, holistically. Exactly how do we pitch in to save the situation. And there is equally another reason why our universities are the way they are. Like I said earlier, it is meant to solve problems. The thing is that over time, when we have problem in governance, in engineering and things like that, we don't go to our universities. We outsource it to people from abroad because of ESTA codes and the rest of them. I give you a very good example. There was this cover story, I did in Tell. I think it was around 2014 thereabout, on outsourcing of geospatial imaging. That's satellite imaging for any engineering work that they want to do in Nigeria. They were looking for foreign firms when we have 3 capable satellites that could do it. At the end of it, they go to these foreign firms. The foreign firms will now come back to NASDRA, that is Nigeria Satellite Agency, and ask them to task their satellites to do that job for them and pay them peanuts. I spoke to the then DG, who is of blessed memory, and Senator Borofis, the man that's the first NASDRA DG. I spoke to him, and they confessed. I wish I can lay my hands on this old magazine. This magazine, it was a comprehensive, major story that we did in Tell then. There was a box, the interview of the DG, the interview of the senator. You understand? So we are talking of things that was running to about, what was the estimate then? Annually, we were losing close to, was it $10 million thereabout, in terms of just satellite imaging, that we're just listening to foreign firms. You understand? That is an institution that is created. We are not talking about the universities. If we're talking about the CNG things and the rest of them, Kwasu is doing CNG. I would have, preferred a situation where the Kwara State government, anything that has to do with CNG, even though they don't have the capacity, the university doesn't have the capacity to build it, they should come in as consultant and you pay them. Those are revenues that rev up, that revs up, then because it's a learning environment, they get personnel to learn the things and pass it on to the students. In a short while, what you have is, if you have any engineer in CNG, he will have a hands-on experience. He doesn't even need to start looking for a job. He can decide to create his own firm. You understand? Same with engineering. We want to do contract, you have civil engineering and things like that. There are some basic things like geospatial imaging and things like that, mapping out, road, this. You have, University of Ilorin has, what do you call it? Is it a urban, something, environmental science? That's where you have geography, you have, planning and the rest of them. To what extent does the state government use them in the areas of, looking for solutions and things like that? You can use them. Pay them. The money goes into this university and they grow experience. They bring in all those expertise into. That is how. Wow. That is what the university is supposed to do.
Well said. Because again, if you look at this course, architecture, urban and regional planning,
exactly.
URP. I don't know. We had great professors from there. And look at the city plans across Nigeria. You want to don't you? But we had these people in universities.
Exactly. See, look. You see, the university, after going through university, you don't even need to look for a job. You understand? Because you see, I haven't gone through it. You already know where you're going. You understand? So that is why sometimes when you read conversations of people going to go for a postgraduate or even a degree program, it is to the effect that there is already a job, there is already an opening they want to fit into. But in Nigeria, it's just that, look, let's have the certificate first. Then there is no job. Then they go for masters. There is no job. They go for PhD. There is no job. Because you see, at the end of the day, the hands are not trained. It's just the brain. So it's a very dire situation we are facing.
Still on ASU and federal government. They've gone ahead to the federal government had earlier mentioned suspending creating new tertiary institutions, a 7-year suspension on it.
Moratorium.
And then now the federal government has approved 9 new private universities. And then the ASU president, Christopher Paiwina, as well, said that the decision is contradicting government's own policy and is questioning why more licenses are being issued when access to university education is no longer a problem. Also, we're facing all of these problems we've been talking about.
Oh, well, the thing is that I think I have a feeling that Paiwina might have been a bit hasty. Because you see, the process of approving a university is a very, very long process. I think that the decision to put a moratorium on new universities, might have been there while the processes, of application had almost completed. So the moment it is completed, you have to, maybe what federal government, you see, I'm just giving a benefit of the doubt here. Let me just play the devil's advocate. You understand? Because the government is not here to defend itself. Because I know these are long processes. You understand? And the policy decisions might have been taken care of by a different committee. You understand? Okay, this is the number. It took into consideration the number of universities we have, the ones that are in the pipeline that will be, so they needed to put a moratorium on it that, look, fresh application is no longer
would not be considered. Yeah.
You understand? Probably that is what federal government. So that is why I said, well, I have a feeling that comment might be a bit hasty, but I don't have all the facts. But again, you have to play the devil's advocate because the federal government is not here to defend itself. But I'm just speaking from the benefit of what I know, the process you go through. So sometimes there is always an overlap, in some of these processes. And again, you see, at the end of the day, it will still come down to one thing again, that government, as much as possible, should be a cohesive bunch. There must be interrelations. So if this policy is coming on board, you understand, I think they should have considered, if indeed, what I just said now is the case, they should have considered if there are things. So they would have made their comments clearly so that there will be no ambiguity whatsoever.
Nicholas, let's look at this. The statement coming from the ASU president, he did say that the proliferation of private universities could worsen poor staffing. Let's look at staffing at the universities at this time from the privates. Where do they recruit their staff, their teaching staff from? That's one. And then if you look at public universities, where some of these graduates are being churned out, and then they've gone through a process that is not of standard, and then they are going into the private university. Is that the position the ASU president is speaking from?
You see, the thing is this: I think most of these private universities, to get their accreditation, they rely on universities from all these major universities, federal government-owned universities.
True.
They bring them on as consultants. A lot of universities rely on lecturers from the government-owned, especially federal government-owned universities, to do most of the things they do. I know of a university in Kwara State here where all the masters lecturers, are handled by, lecturers from University of Ilorin, But you see, that happens because, number one, what they pay them at the university is little. They have to look for extra stream of income. You understand? And they've solved one problem. They created a lot, churning out substandard students. Substandard, products, because the university system is a deliberate institution. It's created with a deliberate intent, to do certain things. When you are a master's student, you understand, there are certain things that, it's like you're a master, literally speaking, that is, you're becoming an authority in what you have gone to learn. You understand? So, but most times, what you see people go into the universities to do now is just a status symbol. I have a degree, I have a master's, you have a master's. Done for promotion at the civil service. Then, in the area of recruitment too, people, there is always a mistake, assuming, people, you said you must have at the very least a master's, or you must have graduated with a 2-1. That was in our days, but I think it has been upgraded now. You must have a 2-1, or you must have a master's, before you are considered as a lecturer. But if you ask me, I think that is just that is minor. It shouldn't be a major consideration for bringing in a lecturer. You see, and a lecturer is an academic. That is, his life is about research. He's naturally an inquisitive person. You understand? It's like a dedication. It's like a religion. You understand? It's not something tactile, something you can just, So if it's about job satisfaction, just getting a job, getting employment, you don't belong there. You understand? You don't belong there. You see, I'll give you an example. I did a postgraduate program recently, like I've been saying on the platform, and there are two professors that wows me each time they come in. I don't know how it sounds. If I mention that, they might just be embarrassed. But you see, I look at them. I look at the quality of teaching they have been given, and I ask myself, how do you compensate this kind of knowledge? You understand? I'm talking of, these are two professors from Mass Communication Department, University of Ilorin. I asked myself, how do you compensate them? In fact, one of them, even another one, is a head of a department. So that is the question I asked myself. How do you compensate these people? You understand? Because I know what we pay for the program is peanuts. You get my point. So that is what we are talking about. That is to tell you the level of the Nigerian university. I'm only, I have to be candid, but that is just the fact as it is,
0807 777 9927 is number to call to be part of any of the news stories that has caught your attention this morning, and you can pick it up and make a comment on it. Let's move to another news story real quick before we round off on the conversation this morning. All right. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has disclosed that the process of identifying and prosecuting terrorism financiers in Nigeria is ongoing. Now, he explained that the matter involves legal complexities and international links, but assured that security agencies are tracking financial transactions and arrests have been made with the support of Nigerian financial intelligence units.
Wow. That's one of the longest...
He said arrests have been made. So.
Yeah, arrests have been made. Yeah, they are always arrests being made. As long as I've been covering conflicts, especially of this insurgent, well, let us consider certain things, really. You cannot just name a person as a terrorism financier without having the kind of, proofs. Because that could summarily damage that person for life. That is number one. Then you see, proving that a person is a financier is a very, very complex thing to do. Because it's about tracking money and the intent of that money. So it is easy. It is easy to, track money, certain amount of money to certain person. But you see, what exactly is the intent? What exactly is the intent? I'll give you a very good example. For a very long time, the United States of America has been on the neck of Saudi Arabia over, its donation to charity foundations that had links, to, some terrorism organization. But again, there was a conflict, because there is a religious obligation to do charity. So how do you know the intent of anybody that comes for charity? How do you know how do you know their intention, that they intend to? What if it's not even the case of the organization? There are some fifth columnists within the organization sourcing the money. So that is, I'm just giving you one complexity. Don't forget that there was at some point, Aline Dume was arrested when Boko Haram was arrested, as, Okay, do we have a comment?
We have comments, and let's take this one. This is from one of the news stories that we took at 7, where the president was urging Nigerians overseas in diaspora to project to support the country, basically stressing that their contributions remain vital to national progress, their contributions of Nigerians in diaspora. So we have 2 comments from it. This one is from Facebook. Dr. Mrs. Umar Olibar from Uwerunonye says, how can Mr. President be inviting Nigerians abroad to come home and invest? This is provocative. How can they, when insecurity is ravaging the country, how can they come and invest in a volatile environment? Let Mr. President look inwards and see how lives are lost on a daily basis in a country he is governing. Look at how lives of worshippers were sent to their untimely death in the most gruesome manner, and Mr. President still has the mind to be moving from one country to another. It's embarrassing and worrisome. Another comment on WhatsApp says, President Tinubu's call for Nigerians in the diaspora to invest back home is a welcome development. Although this is not the first time such appeals have been made, I hope the current administration goes further by creating an enabling environment for prospective investors. To attract meaningful investment, we need stable electricity, good road networks, and basic infrastructure across the country. The administration must also work to curb capital flight. In this regard, agencies like the EFCC, ICPC, and NDLEA have a critical role to play in ensuring transparency, accountability, and the enforcement of financial laws. Furthermore, the government should intensify efforts to boost local food production by promoting mechanized farming in all states. Doing so will reduce the country's dependence on imports and strengthen local industries, ultimately enhancing food security and economic growth. That's from Uwerunonye Tunde from Tanke Ilorin. Well, another comment says, government borrow despite increased foreign reserves, because borrowing addresses specific need like covering budget deficits, funding infrastructure projects, and preparing for economic shocks by accumulating reserves. While foreign reserve acts as a buffer and stabilize the nation currency, they are not always sufficient or suitable for direct domestic spending, necessitating borrowing for immediate fiscal needs and long-term economic development. Foreign reserves and borrowing serves different purposes within broader fiscal and monetary framework. Marco from Ilorin as well. Those are the comments that we have this morning. We can't take any more because our time is fast spent. Closing thoughts on the conversations and the comments that people have made, and we can round off.
Yeah, well, what I I might have to leave the comments there because they spoke on certain things we haven't made but maybe I need to close up. We
can pick it up on Monday.
Yeah, we can pick it up on Monday. But I need to close up on the issue I was just talking about, on the issue of financing and terrorism financing.
Yes.
You know, like I mentioned, this case of Senator Ali Ndume. At the end of the day, he was let go because at the end of the day, what I spoke about was what happened. You know, there was no basis whatsoever to arrest him in the first place. So, but at the end of the day, you had his name soiled in terrorism financing. You know, so it's something that is very complex. But at the same time, you know, we've been hearing it for over some time.
All right. Thank you very much for your comment and for the entire week. We'll be back to your ears next week from 8 o'clock to 8:30, God willing. The views expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey.
I'm Adeyemi. Good morning.
Oh, what did they happen now? No bonus for all my line.
No panic, as MTN don't carry better gist come. Every 6 minutes you talk, MTN go dash you 3 extra minutes. Fiam to enter MTN better gist. Dial *123*2*1# or text BG to 312. T and C's apply.